Chair now recognizes Mr. Burchett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for Mr. Baker. The Department of Transportation seems to be increasingly requiring applicants to focus on merit criteria. And this is like our president's climate, equity, and justice goals, and some of these are very woke. Would you say that these criteria are useful for evaluating funding for short line rail and regional rail applicants? And do you think the Department of Transportation's grant application process is intuitive for applicants?
Well, answering the second question first, it's not intuitive. It's a big hurdle. I think we've talked a lot about that this morning already. For small applicants, particularly short lines who might be applying for one grant in the history of their company, it's a big hurdle to clear, and I think there's a lot of room for the process to be simplified, and I think that would be a ripe area for Congress to require in the next reauthorization. To answer your first question on the merit criteria, I would say a lot of that's not a real natural fit for a short line railroad application, kind of one way or the other, and you do have to bend yourself into pretzels a little bit trying to apply. I will say, to be fair, it hasn't been a huge hassle at the end of the day for short lines, and there are some aspects of short lines where we serve rural and disadvantaged areas, and they're small companies that are, and we're good for the environment, that are a reasonable fit. So we've learned to live with it, but it's not a natural fit.
Well, what would you recommend to the Department of Transportation, just point blank?
Thank you. I think there's a lot of room for improvement. I've hit on a few of them. I think for Chrissy in particular, there's an opportunity to focus that program more on freight rail, with passenger rail having access to sort of the other 58 of, or having a dedicated access to the other 58 of the $66 billion in rail from IIJA. I also think the predictable timing on the grant programs, where you would know in advance it's going to come out at the same time every year, doing one NOFO at a time as opposed to the combining. The combining really creates kind of a lumpy program that is hard to predict and hard to plan on. And then I do think from Congress's point of view, the advance appropriations really do help make the program function and make it predictable. Trying to count on a program that's at the vagaries of an annual appropriations process is going to be, it's just hard to make any long-term planning based on that.
It was stated in another earlier testimony that the expense of doing this seemed to be kind of exorbitant. How do you absorb that, or how do you prepare for that type of thing? Is that something you know in advance of what it's going to cost you, the time it takes, or is it just, it seems like a moving target?
That for me still?
Yeah, either one of y'all. I know Mr. Winders looks like he's itching to answer, so go ahead, brother.
Thank you, Representative. Itching to answer may be a slight overstatement, but
well, you're reaching towards the buzzer, so
yes, sir, I was.
I'll let you go, brother.
Yes, sir, I was. The question was, what can be done with the program, or how do we prepare for the costs? And the way we prepare for the costs is we have to keep our costs down very low. We don't have the ability to throw a lot of resources at something that for a grant program that in our experience, the playing field is slanted against us, and we're probably not going to get anyway. So it keeps us from being able to do that. When we do need to do that, our coalition, as when we did the benefit cost analysis, was able to pool some resources and pay for that.
Do you have any way to share that information with other, maybe not your competitors, but people in an area where you're not, and maybe figure something out? Because it just seems to me these things are always, I guess they start out maybe in a good spot, but they always end up helping the big boys or somebody who's connected with somebody, and to me that just stinks.
Yeah. We would definitely like the playing field to be competitive. We think our project and many others in rural America will compete as a road, but they won't necessarily compete on all the other criteria that you mentioned, Representative.
I always say we need to put the best players in, Coach. And if Peyton Manning were, or if the NFL was Congress, Peyton Manning would probably still be waiting to get in. So thank y'all so much. I have 5 seconds, and I'll yield that back to the committee.